The movie opens with the sound of a man's voice flowing through the New York City airwaves. He introduces himself as Irv Jackson, his tone steady and professional. As he speaks, the early morning city hums to life. Irv announces that it's 5 a.m., signaling the start of the day for countless listeners. With excitement in his voice, he introduces the station's star, Rush Williams, the #1 DJ for the morning drive time, who's about to go live in an hour. The energy builds, setting the stage for the show to begin. The scene shifts to a man stirring awake, and it's none other than Rashawn James Williams, or simply Rush, the movie's protagonist. A well-known DJ at the WMLE radio station, Rush is not just famous, but also a widower and a devoted single father of 4 children. As he starts his morning routine, he checks his phone and finds a message from his youngest daughter, Evie, begging for a mini horse. With a smile, he tells her to go back to sleep, only for her twin sister, Gabby, to chime in, echoing the same demand. Amused but firm, Rush tells both of them to rest and leaves his room to start the day. In search of breakfast, he's caught off guard when he sees his friend, Roxy Richardson, already in the kitchen, holding a fresh cup of coffee for him. Roxy, who also happens to be his producer at the radio station, is there to make sure Rush is on time for his morning show. Their easy banter and shared responsibilities reflect their strong bond, both at work and in life. Before he leaves for work, his aunt, Jo Robinson, arrives to look after the kids for the day. He hands her some money to make lunch for the kids, and Rush explains to Roxy that she used to make lunch for him every single day when he was a kid. And after his wife Paula passed away, she has been making lunch for the kids. They are all interrupted by the arrival of Rush's elder daughter, Maya Williams, with her list of Christmas gifts in her hand. Rush reads the items on the list out loud, and Roxy is not impressed. She tries telling Maya that going extra is not the goal, but Maya just ignores her. Jo is also not a fan of the kids' behavior and comments that the richer Rush gets, the greedier his kids become. Sighing, Rush leaves with Roxy. Coming out of the front gate, they bump into Rush's firstborn, Jamal Williams. He is coming back from his morning run. Roxy asks about his university acceptance letter, and he says that he is still waiting for the email. She is sure that he will get in, and he appreciates it. Roxy and Jamal reach the office, and their colleague, Janella, informs them that he has only 95 seconds until his show. She goes through their schedule and begins to stress, but Roxy calms her down. 20 seconds before his show, Rush is seated in his chair, ready to rock. Irv says goodbye, and Rush takes over the radio. Janella gives him the signal, and he gets into the DJ mode. The first song he plays isn't the one from Roxy's approved list, and she sighs. Ignoring her, Janella and Rush enjoy the show. On the other hand, Jo is making breakfast when the girls arrive, all dressed up for school. Jamal runs into the dining room, announcing that the email from Harvard has arrived, but he refrains from opening it until Rush arrives. Jo hugs him, saying that she is proud of him. Jamal starts dreaming about the car he is getting for Christmas and how he would drive it around Harvard. Jo calls them all fortunate and tells them that she grew up poor. Instead of being empathetic, the kids laugh. After his show, Roxy comes over to Rush, angry at him. She reminds him to better play the songs from the approved list because they need to be played safely. She tells him that they have taken the show to #1. All they need to do is make the board owners see this, and then they can have their own station. He agrees with her but soon starts talking about the Christmas bonus check he would be getting. Annoyed, she leaves. On the other hand, his girls, all 3 of them, go around, ordering the people to get things done for them before Christmas, especially the swimming pool, and telling them to not worry about the money. Roxy arrives with a ton of paperwork and takes Rush with him to get a deal of their dreams, ownership of a station. They talk to the owner of WMLE, Marshall Stone, but he gives them the most devastating news. Someone just bought WMLE. Marshall leads them out of the studio and says that Comfort Communication, mostly known as Camcom, bought WMLE. Rush believes that being a part of the Camcom is a big thing, but Roxy, on the other hand, is not so convinced. They all head into a meeting with the Camcom superior, their new boss, Joss Hawkins. Joss tells them that they plan on launching a new national morning drive time show, just in time for Christmas. Rush gets super excited about the prospect of being heard all over the nation, but soon his hopes get shot down when it is revealed that he is being replaced by another DJ, Stacey K. Roxy, who gets furious and accuses them of stealing their success. After everything they did, building up the audience and increasing the reach, they are being kicked out of their own show. Marshall takes them out of the meeting room to talk, and after they leave, Joss and her team laugh. Once outside, Rush shouts at Marshall for doing this to him. He says that he is the highest-rated fan-favorite DJ, and they are doing this to him. Marshall justifies their actions by saying that while Rush is #1 in R&B, Stacy is #1 in pop. He tells them that they will have one grand farewell show the next day, and then Rush will have to say goodbye to his show. The last nail in the coffin comes when Marshall tells them that they also won't be getting the Christmas bonus. Furious, they leave. On their way out, Roxy blames herself for not predicting this beforehand, and Rush keeps assuring him that he will be called back. He confesses that after putting so much effort into his show, it feels like he is losing a body part. He is worried about his kids because Christmas is just around the corner, and his kids demand too much. Roxy tries to calm him down, saying that everything will be okay. He just needs to have a little faith. Rush heads home, and on his way, he picks up the girls from the school. They keep bombarding him with their requests, but he doesn't get enough courage to tell them about his unemployment. Upon reaching home, he finds out about the email Jamal got, and everyone stands around the laptop, waiting for him to open it. Jamal screams in excitement upon finding out that he got into Harvard. Everyone is happy, but thinking about all the expenses, Rush recommends Jamal check out the community college he went to, and the kids burst out laughing, thinking that their dad just made a joke. Rush's face falls when Jamal tells him that paying some extra money will let them have a parking spot at the college. Ignoring the shift in his demeanor, the kids keep on celebrating. After the kids leave, Rush breaks down in front of Jo and tells her all that happened. Jo is shocked, but hopes that Rush has some money saved up. But it turns out that he is broke. All his money went into fulfilling the bills and his kids' atrocious wishes, and there was nothing left to save. Jo gets angry and accuses him of spoiling the kids. He admits that he did too much in order to be both mother and father to them. But now, things are going to change, and she asks for Jo's help in telling them. She calms him down and tells him to have some faith. The next morning, Rush goes for his final show, and the usual energy and power are missing. After the show, Roxy criticizes him, saying that he shouldn't have ended the show on this note. He should have done something to make the audience follow him wherever he goes. He is heartbroken, but she tells him to rise. Be the Rush, because he is her star. Smiling, he thanks her for being there. Later that day, he finally gathers the kids and tells them about the situation. He tells them that a lot of their wishes are not going to be fulfilled now, and they need to start living within limits. The kids are disappointed in him and leave, like spoiled kids. The following day, 12 days before Christmas, Rush can be seen sitting on his sofa, with different Christmas decoration-related things scattered around. This is when Roxy arrives, saying that they need to talk. Jo already knows what she is talking about and encourages her to talk to Rush. Roxy musters the courage, sits down next to him, and says that a radio station, Crush BQL, is on sale. He doesn't take much notice, so Roxy tells him in clear words that they should buy the station. Since he is broke, Roxy offers to pay the money for them. Hurt over what happened to him, he turns down the offer. Then Jo takes the lead and gives him some of her savings, and he seems actually surprised that everyone had money saved up, except him. It is revealed that Rush got his first break as a DJ at that station, and Roxy believes that they should restart from where everything began. It is time for them to rule the waves again. Even though, knowing that it would be a huge risk, Roxy succeeds in convincing Rush. That night, over dinner, Rush tells the kids about the station they are buying. Maya taunts him for spending the money they supposedly don't have. He tells them about Roxy and Jo's contribution, and that in order to come up with the money for his shares, he would need to sell the house. None of them is impressed, especially about the fact that they would be moving into their old house, the house they had before Rush got rich, the house Jo lives in right now. The dinner turns into an argument, but Rush announces that the decision has been made. After dinner, Rush sits in the car, remembering Paula. He sits outside the little house they once lived in and talks to the memory of Paula. He blames himself for everything, but she encourages him, saying that he needs to keep chasing the big dreams, and not just the station, but also Roxy. After her memory dissipates, he looks inside the house, remembering the countless Christmases they spent there. He comes back home to everyone, fast asleep. He sighs, thinking that they would have to move out just a few days before Christmas. After checking on all the kids, he goes to sleep. 8 days before Christmas, they move to the old house. Maya isn't happy and doesn't talk to Rush. On the other hand, he finds that the twins have made a fake FundMe account to gather money for their horses. He orders them to shut it and goes to check on Jamal, who has decided not to step inside the house. He shares his distress with Jo, who laughs and sends him to talk to Maya, and she goes to talk to Jamal. Once inside Maya's room, he finds that she hasn't yet unpacked and has no plans on doing it soon. She hates the neighborhood, but he tells her to connect to her history, because this is where he and generations of their family lived. Meanwhile, Jamal is stubborn. He believes that Rush ruined everything Jamal has worked hard for, and on top of everything, Jamal admits hatred for the house. Angrily, Joe orders him to appreciate the life Rush provided them all with and leaves. At the WMLE's office, Joss breaks the news of Rush buying a new station to Marshall, who is shocked to hear this. Joss orders him to make sure that this doesn't affect the launch of their new show. He is confused, so she elaborates, telling him to stop the advertisers from buying advertising time from Rush and Roxy. After she leaves the office, Janella tries to persuade Marshall not to do this, but he doesn't listen. On the other hand, the kids gather at the dinner table and have their meal with Joe. After having their fill, they start to leave, but Joe stops them all, assigning them chores. After the chores, they all get too tired and head over to bed. Before sleeping, Rush checks on them all, prays, and sleeps. The next day is officially Rush and Roxy's first day back at work. After a quick tour, they get to work, which is to set up the things. No matter the conditions of the place, they are happy because it is theirs. Roxy tells him that the staff will join from the next day, and in a week's time, they'll be up and running. Her happiness fades when she gets a phone call and finds that Camcom has threatened their advertisers, and they cannot broadcast without advertisers. But instead of getting sad, Rush thinks on the positive side. He says that even though they haven't even started yet, Camcom is seeing them as competitors, but nothing can now stop Team Rush and Roxy. He advises her to market their launch as a commercial-free Christmas, and she agrees. With the money they have, they can survive without advertisers, and when they are once again on top, the advertisers will start rushing toward them. Happy, they hug each other. Later, Rush takes the kids out for Christmas tree shopping. The girls fight over which tree to buy, while Jamal shows no interest. Rush goes to talk to him about the fact that he is missing classes, which is bad if he wants to go to Harvard. Jamal laughs at Rush for even thinking that he will be going to Harvard after all this. He tells Jamal to cheer up because it is their tradition to buy a tree for the house. Angry, Jamal comments that the place they are living in isn't his house. His house was the one that came with big opportunities, but Rush messed it all up. Not wanting any drama, he orders him to go sit in the car. After buying the tree, the family heads home. Maya complains about how all her friends got new designer clothes for Christmas, and she, on the other hand, is poor. She accuses him of not wanting her happy, not understanding that nothing was his fault. After some time, she realizes her mistake and tells Rush that she has hope for their future and knows that he is doing his best to provide for them all. They hug each other and she smiles. Later, Rush and Roxy go through the old Christmas stuff that his family left behind while moving to the new house. The old memories of the time when they weren't rich but happy begin to surface. Roxy tells him about the Christmases she had as a kid from a broken family. She laughs at all the things that happened to her and comments that she is okay now. Rush laughs along with her and pulls her in for a quick hug. Roxy and Rush bring the stuff from the attic downstairs, and after settling everything, Roxy heads out, saying that she will be back around dinner time. After she leaves, Joe and Rush sit down and watch some old videos of Paula, and soon the kids join. The videos bring tears to Jamal's eyes, and he goes back to his room. Meanwhile, at the WMLE, Marshall and Janella are in an argument. This is when Joss arrives, asking for an update. Knowing that the advertisers have decided to not go to Rush makes her happy. But her mood turns sour when she looks out the window and sees a huge billboard about Rush's Christmas show. Joss tells Marshall to handle the situation, or he could lose his job. Not wanting to have any part in all this, Janella quits. Later for dinner, Rush and Roxy head out. The waiter mistakes them for a couple, and they laugh awkwardly. It turns out that the next morning they are going to be back on air. Roxy is immensely happy and comments on how their competitors would have felt after seeing Rush's face on a billboard. Realizing how much she has done for him, Rush stands up and makes a toast for her. He then asks her for a dance, and while slowly dancing to peaceful music, Rush confesses his feelings for her, and they share a passionate kiss. She admits that 5 years ago when she first came into his life, she didn't know that they would fall in love. The kiss once again, deeply, like there is no tomorrow. When Rush and Roxy come back home, the kids are going to bed. He stops them and announces his relationship with Roxy. The girls are overjoyed and rush in to hug them. But Jamal gets furious and calls Roxy an outcast, not a part of their family. Rush tries to calm him down, but he is not in the mood to talk and walks away. Joe stops Rush from going after Jamal, and he seethes with fury. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Ross brings some wine for Marshall. She informs him that their superiors are not happy with all the Rush drama going on. Since they can't stop Rush from going on air, they will just have to wait and see what number Rush pulls in. The next morning, which is also Christmas Eve, is the day when Rush would be going back live. Before his show, he practices a lot. But before going on air, Janella arrives bearing bad news. They cannot go on air because the buyer of Rush's house backed out, and now they don't have the resources to broadcast. But that is not all. Jo calls Rush, informing him that Jamal left the house. She tells Rush that Jamal left to play soccer, but never came back. At his home, everyone is worried about Jamal, since no one can get any info on his whereabouts. Rush is pacing, anxious, when Roxy comes back and tries to calm him down. He starts blaming himself for being selfish instead of putting his kids on top. Not wanting to waste any time waiting to hear from him, Rush heads out to find his son. Maya and Roxy also decide to look around the neighborhood. On their search for Jamal, the girls find themselves standing in front of a beautifully decorated house. The owner, Reginald Miller, recognizes Maya as Joe's little one. He flirts with Roxy, which unsettles Maya, so she gets direct on the topic and asks him about Jamal. He hasn't seen Jamal, but promises to keep an eye out for him. Before the girls leave, he asks them to wish Joe a Merry Christmas. Meanwhile, Rush drives his car all across the city to look for Jamal, but in vain. The girls then bump into a young mother with 2 kids, struggling, and Roxy offers to help her. The mother mistakes Roxy as Maya's mother, and the girls laugh. The mother leaves, and they smile. Back at home, the twins help Aunt Jo set up the tree. This is when everyone returns, with the bad news that Jamal hasn't been found. Jo suggests calling the police, but Rush is against the idea. While looking at an old family picture with Paula, something clicks in Rush's mind, and he leaves, saying that he knows where Jamal is. Rush reaches his destination and finds Jamal. He sits down next to him, and they engage in a heart-to-heart conversation. At that moment, Jamal confesses that it is hard to be in the house where he lost his mother. He misses her, which explains his presence at his mom's favorite place. Rush tells him that accepting Roxy in the family doesn't mean forgetting Paula, but Jamal comments that this isn't about Roxy. It is about how after Paula passed away, all Rush did was feel like he was shutting down her memories. In that vulnerable moment, they connect, and Jamal hugs Rush, breaking down in tears. They talk about old memories and smile in nostalgia. Jamal apologizes for his behavior with Roxy and accepts her for Rush's happiness. While Rush and Roxy are happy with their family, Marshall gets drunk in his office alone. He looks at Rush's billboard and talks to it. Rush returns with Jamal, and the moment he steps through the door, Aunt Jo wraps him in a big, warm hug, her relief palpable. The girls excitedly lead him around, showing off the festive decorations they've put up. Maya sheepishly admits she had a bit of help from Roxy. Right on cue, Roxy enters and reveals that Reginald had lent them the lights to make the house sparkle. With a teasing grin, Maya adds that she thinks Reginald might have a crush on Jo. Instantly, Joe's cheeks flushed a rosy red, and the whole room erupted in laughter. Amidst the joy, Jamal takes a deep breath and apologizes to Roxy. Without hesitation, she pulls him into a warm embrace, her forgiving nature bringing the moment full circle. Christmas morning dawns, and the house fills with the joyful anticipation of gift-giving. Everyone gathers around, eager to unwrap their presents. The twins squeal with delight as they open boxes containing adorable, stuffed mini horses. Jamal grins as he pulls out a sweatshirt emblazoned with Harvard across the front, a nod to his dreams. Maya, however, is left speechless as she opens her gift, Paula's cherished necklace, a beautiful piece of jewelry with deep sentimental value. Just then, Roxy arrives, her arms filled with gifts for the kids. Overwhelmed, her eyes well up with emotion when she realizes the kids have a gift for her too. As she unwraps it, she finds a matching cord, set identical to the ones the rest of the family is already wearing. With this thoughtful gift, they officially welcome her into the family, making the moment all the more special. As everyone gathers around, enjoying the warmth of the holiday, Rush shares an exciting update. He met with the old buyers of their house, lowered the price, and finally managed to sell it. The room erupts in squeals of joy, their troubles seeming to melt away, but their celebration is cut short by the sound of the doorbell. Jamal heads out to answer it, and is surprised to find Marshall standing there. The sight of him instantly enrages Rush, who leaps at Marshall, shoving him into the snow. Just as things are about to escalate, Marshall quickly explains that he left WMLE and now wants to invest in Rush's station. Desperate to prove his sincerity, he pulls out a check as evidence of his commitment. Shocked but intrigued, Rush takes the check, and after a tense pause, they agree to his offer. The group, buzzing with excitement, urges Rush to seize this opportunity. With newfound determination, Rush races to the station, ready to claim what's rightfully his. With their financial troubles behind them, Rush returns to the airwaves, this time with Roxy, Janella, and Marshall standing by his side, offering unwavering support. The movie concludes with a heartwarming Christmas dinner, where the entire neighborhood gathers to celebrate together. The warmth of the season fills the room as Aunt Jo begins to sing a soulful Christmas song, her voice carrying the spirit of togetherness. Laughter and joy ripple through the air as everyone revels in the true magic of Christmas, united in love, hope, and festive cheer.